very much. I think this mean a lot to me because Patrick and we were very, very close. In fact, I was under him for 3 years in PGI and learnt a lot. Yeah.
Great day for ILBS and to have you and Carol with us today. It's a real privilege. She hardly travels, and for us to be able to have Nagi and you together is a great occasion. We were privileged to have him at our convocation and to have him accept our request to be a DSC, and thank you again for coming, Nagi. These are jigri baatein, means they will not be something which I wrote down some of them right now. As friends, I have been with you for almost more than 3 decades. But the talk which you gave made me learn a lot. I'm sure many of our residents, they all are sitting here, are hepatology residents, surgery resident, anesthesia, and faculty. You would have seen the intensity of a man, the humility and the absolute intensity. For that intensity, I give you salutations. A big round of applause.
Thank you.
Whatever you do is a perfection, and it is amazing. So I would like to ask you a few questions which might be enjoyable to all of us. Suppose you had taken the hepatology way, giving your Lancet paper, and you had followed Sheila Sherlock. What do you think you would have become?
So at that time and even now, I think I didn't have the intellectual capacity for doing hepatology. Is a very intellectually straining job. It's not
very modest, Nagi. Absolute intellectual genius. No, everyone knows it.
No, I thought a better hand-eye coordination and skills. So I was very tempted because Sheila Sherlock told me, after me you will be editing the book and things like that. She spent some time in PG. I was with her, and she used to be very blunt. In fact, I remember when we were talking, me and Jung Dilavari and Sheila Sherlock was there, and Jung was trying to tell her something about some paper, and she said, "Jung, you have to relearn. Come back and get training again." She used to be so blunt. So when she said this, I was of course thrilled. In fact, she spoke to my father also, told, "Send this boy to me." I
suppose you had taken hepatology, what would have been? What you would be like?
I had probably gone into some sort of intervention in hepatology also, maybe doing some interventional work there. But the hepatitis was really fast. B was very fascinating to me. I would go very deep. In fact, I'd go into very, very small papers. So finally, H.C. Desai was the examiner for me when I was giving some answers on things which are very uncommon. And now we don't realize now that most of us are they know a little about everything. He was telling me, "You're stupid or what? Why are you talking about all these things? It's too much into you talk about gastro." So I would have probably done something in hepatitis, probably B, some solutions for that. I'm not sure. But I don't know whether destiny.
Well, I can tell you, if he had been in hepatology, he would have been probably the best in the world. He has those genes and has that kind of mission. I am sure wherever you would have been the best.
In fact, I was more interested in pathology. I joined pathology at PGI. After I got a very high rank, joined PGI. Professor Aikat was the professor of pathology at that time. He took me, I worked for a little time, and then he didn't know who I was. Then he asked me, "Who are you?" I said, "I'm son of Dr. Bhaskar Reddy," who was a close friend of his. So he rang up my dad, and I didn't tell my dad also had joined. He rang up my dad and said, "Your son is joined as pathology." My dad, the thing was, "Kick that fellow out of from here." My dad was a pathologist, but somehow he felt that as a pathologist you can't make a change in the society. You have to be a clinician. So he kept insisting you have to be a clinician, and that's why I was kicked out of PGI.
Well, I would like all of you to ask some questions in your mind, and once I am through with some of my thoughts, I would ask you to. Now, you have seen how that CNN thing in the video that he showed, and I have been witness to that, how beautiful a studio that they have made where they can transmit endoscopy live every week to any part of the world. So my question is, suppose you were given a chance to be a movie director, what kind of movies would you make, Nagi?
So my opinion is very strong, only comedies. I think all non-comedy movies should be banned because there's so much problem in life, you know. At least those few hours you must see some comedies.
So who is your favorite cinematic hero?
Hero, I
Or
actually...
Tamil heroine?
No, my favorite heroine is Rasmika Mandana. Yeah. Rashmi, I don't know, you may not know her. She's a national crush, no? She's, yeah. Everybody else knows except Shiv Sarina Rashmi. Yeah. So she's a fantastic actress, you know. Fantastic. You know, Rashmika. So I tell people that she is the second most beautiful lady in the world. So everybody asks me, who's the first? I say, my granddaughter.
Well, that's a very nice gesture. Now, you had shown us such beautiful things. So why did you choose the name Asian and why not world? Because
yeah, so already there was one hospital called Global Hospital at that time in Hyderabad, and Asian we chose because by that time we are starting to get a lot of patients from Malaysia, from surrounding areas, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, a lot of them were coming in. So we thought name Asian would be more generic in that way.
now it has become a symbol of the world's best endoscopy, best run hospitals or so. Just to tell you, I went there and Nagi was kind enough. When they started, I think it was August 15th or so.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I was privileged to be there. And
you were there for our first parade,
yes,
Independence Day parade, yeah.
For the first parade, I was there.
Yes.
And when I went few days ago, I couldn't believe that place. That place was full. They were seeing close to 4,000 patients a day, which is impossible for in a private setup. And they had some of the best staff managed. You go there and you have printing facilities. But one thing which I admire and I want to stress upon, and that was one of the things Dr. Nagi said in the beginning, is strict, but you also have love and affection. Everyone was in the blue dress. Every single person who was working was dressed in the attire of AIG. So salutations for that.
Thank you.
And it's also a message for all of us that everybody, be it a doctor, be it a nurse, be it a technician, everyone was in the hospital dress. And I remember how, how easy it was for us to recognize who is who and who is not. And that culture came from the top, and I think we should do that. You have one of the best guys as G.V. Rao.
Yes, yes, yes.
He is not only a surgeon, he is an inventor. How did you discover GV?
So what happened was 1985, this was about almost 40 years back, GV was a surgeon who was interested in endoscopy. He went to several places all over the country to learn. Everybody refused. They said, no, you can't, you're a surgeon, you can't. So finally when he approached me, I said, come join us. And then I discovered that he had very certain skill, like innovation, which was very good. And then, of course, I think the other important thing is a human being. You also judge people by how good a human being they are. And once they fit into what you think is the right thing, the journey. So we had a 40 years journey. G.V. Rao is one of the few people who criticizes me, which I think is very important. If something is wrong which I have done, or if he'll come and tell me. Other people are sometimes very frightened, but he'll tell me, look, you are doing this wrong. This is not right. Let us say. That is a very important component, which I feel is important. Yeah.
So for those of you who do not know, they have a surgeon, come friend, come a creator, and he's one of the best visual creators.
Yes.
And I was privileged when I went there, and Dr. Nagi had promoted my book there. And he had created, you're sitting here, and the drone comes, actual drone is flying. And the drone brings the book in your hand. And I said, who has done this? This is GV, all GV and his technology.
Actually, GV is the movie director in our hospital. he's directing.
So all of you, so if we have such friends and such people in the team, and the message you gave about the team is something which we'll always remember and feel.
I think criticism is very important, Shiva. I feel that we should have a group of people who are going to criticize. Some of them may criticize excessively, but still it's better than having people who just unnecessarily criticize. So we encourage that a lot in our group meetings. We encourage criticism. You have to, because everything can't be perfect.
For those of you who may not know, the journey of Dr. Nagi included his working till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. I mean, the endoscopies would probably continue. Now they do 700 endoscopies a day. And he works 18 hours and he enjoys work. So the message is you enjoy your work and you can work at 18 hours and he still remain the same as I have seen him for last 20 years. A very, very good message. Now I have to ask you 2-3 more things before I open up. One is, what is your best sport?
So I used to be quite active. I used to play cricket and tennis. Actually, I played cricket and tennis for not only the college but the university. Of course, Carol was never impressed with my skills, so she felt I was not good. But I used to play a lot of cricket and tennis also. I represented the university. But after coming to PGI and all, so in PGI we had the first cricket match, and I asked Carol to come and witness how I was going to score a century or something. I was looking at her, probably the first ball is out, After that, she lost this thing for me.
So, like you told about Narayana Murthy and sitting with him, there is a book by Narayana Murthy and others, Why I Failed.
Yes.
The 22.
You told us, actually I got that book, I read it.
You read it.
Yeah, I think that's very important lessons.
It's a very important lesson. So suppose, what are the lessons that you failed for a while, and what are those lessons? Would you like to share with us?
No, I think at every stage we have had failures. For example, when we started going for the permission for the buildings, they were not given. They were blocked. The government did not give. You have to persist, get the right people and get the thing. Of course, we all have failures also in our clinical life, where sometimes you do think the patient develops pancreatitis and then dies. In fact, one of the very early patients, 1985, I had a patient whom at that time ERCP all over, I was doing 100 ERCPs a day. So this patient, very obese patient.
Can you remember 100 ERCPs a day by one man? Big round of applause.
So
anybody who has to get an ERCP, I remember myself, would go down to South and get it done from Dr. Reddy, and then come and say, oh, Dr. Reddy has done it. Oh, Dr. Reddy has done it. Yes, he got time for you. That's a big thing.
So I remember a particular patient who was obese, had pain suggestive of pancreatic pain. So I did an ERCP. At that time, we didn't have good fluoroscopy. I was not able to see well because of obesity. I injected extra contrast. He was waiting for an ERCP from early morning. He got his chance only at 9 o'clock in the night. And then I did this. I did several wrong things. First, his indication was wrong. Just pancreatic pain is not an indication for ERCP. The second mistake I did was I was actually doing it in obese patient, a bad fluoroscopy. The third mistake I did was making the patient wait so long without hydration. And now we know that hydration is the most important. And the fourth thing is I overfilled the pancreatic ductal system. This patient developed, young fellow, severe pancreatitis, developed pancreatic abscess, was going around all the hospitals. It took him 6 months to recover. An young fellow, productivity lost. One of the only good things was that time we didn't have social media, WhatsApps and all. Otherwise, my reputation would have completely gone. But then when I look back now, everything was wrong about it, the indication. So I think these type of clinical mistakes we always make. I think it's important to look back, retrospect, and say where was the mistake. Of course, there are many instances where current knowledge is different from what we had earlier, and with this would have been wiser. But still, I think one of the most important lessons I learned, I'm very careful now, is although I'm very aggressive in interventional endoscopy, I believe that we have to be very careful, do it for the right indication. And if you're not capable, for example, third space endoscopy in my institute, I started, but there are 3 or 4 youngsters who are much better than me. I ask them to do, I tell the patient, look, he's much better than me, kindly go to this person, either Mohan or Zahir, they're better, he'll do the third space, I'm not as good. So I learned also it's very important to be honest in that sense when something happens. So this is
Very big lessons, the humility and promoting youngsters. I know he can do it. He can do probably any procedure which is possible with the endoscope. He has invented, many of you would not know, people would come, they would have to wait for their training overseas fellows for months together. They wouldn't get time to get trained at AIG. And there were all companies, anything new in the Asian market, maybe the world market, the first free new endoscope or device would be tested, approved by Dr. Reddy or his team. So, big round of applause what he has done for the field of endoscopy and gastroenterology. You have so many fellows around the world. Who is your most favorite fellow around the world?
So we have many fellows, and the most, of course, one single person will be difficult, but in general, I feel that fellows from Europe are much better than people from US. US fellows who come for training are very materialistic. They come and say, we want to do this, we want that. There are, from Europe, it's totally different. They have humanity, they mix with the God. One of our most eminent fellows was Todd Barron. Todd Barron, so Todd Barron was a very famous ERCPist, world's top ERCPist. He wanted to learn endosono. The Mayo Clinic refused. He was a Mayo Clinic consultant that time. He was head of the endoscopy unit. Mayo Clinic refused him. So he said, he wrote to me saying, can I come and be a fellow with you and learn? I said, okay, come. So he stayed with us for some months, learned the US, and unfortunately the Mayo got very upset with me. Why are you teaching this fellow? I said, any fellow anywhere is welcome to us. We don't care what they. So I think many of these fellows have also taught us, because they have certain skills, the cultural skills and so on, which have also helped our unit to become more international. And when the fellow comes and gets mixed with the unit, it becomes. There are also ways where we had a fellow. He's now a very famous pancreatologist in New York. He came to me for ERCP. After watching him, so what happens in our unit, our technician watches the first few times fellows how they're doing. He'll come and tell me, this guy, difficult, he cannot. So after about 1 month, he told me this particular guy cannot do endoscopy. He doesn't have the hand-eye coordination. So I told, he's from New York, I called him and told him, look, I think your career in endoscopy may not be very good, because he accepted. He went back, stopped endoscopy, became a clinical pancreatologist, and now he's one of the world's most famous clinical pancreatologists. So I think sometimes it's important to be honest also, the fellows.
Yes.
You can do this or you cannot do this. Yeah. But we also get different types. Some of them are not good in terms of mixing with the unit and so on.
And also the importance of a good technician,
Yes,
who is a good observer and also can be a good, in the eyes and ears of the boss, can help you. Nagi, you have done so much in clinical and research, but how did that flair of research, you're spending so much money. I went and saw the research block, and Shashi Kala, the lady whom you had kept. It's a huge facility. To have a good research facility in a private hospital, a setup is not easy. So first, salutations, and how do you keep that drive on?
No, I think as we go on, we realize that this becomes a very integral part of our practice, especially translational research. And what I find is that to retain good clinicians, if you have a good research facility, then they're attracted. Because, see, what happens in private sector, of course, you're not subject to this. There's a lot of these people trying to get 1% another place, so they offer a few extra money, salaries, and they go off. But I realize that it's not the money that's important. It's if you can give a good environment where they enjoy doing their work. If they have a research association, then they stay back. Like, for example, we are probably one of the most famous cardiologists in the world with us, Dr. Narasimham. He can go to any place, get whatever he wants. He's an electrophysiologist who devised all the electrophysiology devices in the heart. So to get him and keep him was the attraction of the research center that we had. So he does a lot of basic research.
Big round of applause for the research aptitudes. My last question is about, you have a very good manager who is a IIM guy.
Capri.
What is his name?
Capri Jalota.
Capri Jalota.
Yeah.
And you have amazing group of people. How do you attract such good people and retain them, and they do all the worries in the business for you?
Yes. So I think that's also very important. Fortunately, we have a very good team of administrators, one of the most important thing I try to get them into first itself is to have the ethos of the culture of the institute, that money is not the thing, looking after people is important, everything else comes secondary. So all of them have, most important thing we teach them is humility. Everybody has to be very humble in spite of what type of patients or what type of people you are dealing with.
Are you listening?
Yeah. The many villages also come with it, and when I, by chance, when I'm seeing some of our staff interacting with them and they're rough, that's the last time the staff is there. So we're very, very strict. For me, the worst thing, characteristic in a person, especially when you're in the institution, is arrogance. Once arrogance comes, that is, we are not, in healthcare, arrogance has no place. Humility is most important. So we teach them to that, and those, when we select these people, we are very, very careful how we select, see their attitude. For example, Capri Jalota was a Punjabi, and you know, Punjabis are normally very aggressive, very, you know, they don't mean it, but their nature is that. But I realized that we can tone him down, he's become very humble, now he's become very associated. So I think it's very important that culture seeps from down, and once the whole culture comes in, then everybody is into it.
Yes, it is true. If you go there, everyone is smiling, everyone, whether it's a dietitian or a technician, they have a very good place for eating, you know, outside.
Yeah.
They all eat together after every function. I realize they have a good eating place, which we do not have that good a place for everyone to be together. And they all work in unison. And it was an amazing experience when I went there. And they have an auditorium and a hall which is ultra modern. And they have this guy Capri.
Capri, yeah,
And I must tell you, you may not know, I went there and they took me to your AI lab.
AI lab, yeah.
And the AI lab, the neurosurgeon is asking a question, how to do things. The orthopedics guy was trying to do, and of course some gastroenterology people were trying to develop AI things. And they are ahead of time. They have a, what you call a robo, no,
Yes,
not a robo.
It's a Mira. It's
Mira. They have Mira as one of their first own AI. Why don't you explain
So
about
Mira is a medical information robotic assistant of AIG. So what we did is we took this large language model chat box, and we actually put this figure which is very attractive, keeps talking and telling. So we gave all the medical information to Mira. So Mira looks like a person, she's talking all the time. So if you ask a question, so patient, when you see a patient, I don't want to waste extra time explaining simple things like this medicine should be taken when this medicine should be taken. Similarly, when a resident comes, he wants to know the complication of ERCP, he doesn't have to keep asking, he can ask Mira. Mira has all that knowledge. So resident will say, what are the potential complications of ERCP in this case? Or Mira, this is the patient's clinical history. Should we do an ERCP? Young patient, normal lefty, Mira will say, no, don't do that. So it's got that wisdom to do all that. And plus, nowadays, when I tell a patient, okay, you do this and you take these tablets, and patient immediately say, no, I'll go and ask Mira. Why? Because Mira talks better, and also Mira is more attractive than me. So I think for me now, the next passion is AI. AI is going to revolutionize, the mistake we made in medicine is we used the component of AI called computer vision, which can say polyp, detect polyps, find out malignant polyp and similar. But we have now found that AI is going to dramatically change the way how we run hospitals, healthcare systems, simplify and make healthcare equitable. A villager without any money is going to get the same this thing as, again, some example is the liver. So we now have made an algorithm for fatty liver disease, NAFLD, where Anand Kulkarni and all did this. So we run a teaching program with ISB, and together we did this, that putting 4 parameters, blood parameters, they're getting a fibroscan result of both the fat and fibrosis exactly same. You don't require
like
a
fibroscan.
So you can go into the villages and do this and then get the result. So I think there are some areas in AI, in India especially, for equitable care, to look after those patients. I think one of the mistakes that we have done in the private sector is not to look after all the group. Equitable care is the most important thing which we are neglected.
Another thing I would like to say, so I was shown there that they used to have in a month about maybe 10 code blue, and they developed a system where the nurses before the code blue were able to use the predictive model of AI, and the number of code blues came down to maybe one or so in a very short time. So their own in-house AI was able to say and protect, and I was very impressed to say the least, how the nurses, the heart rate is going up and it is already, so you don't have to be there, but the nurse is alarmed about
Before
the,
itself, yes.
before the,
That has saved a lot of lives.
they saved lot of lives. So I think you are going into AI would be a big boon, and we all will follow you. They did a investors meeting on AI, and I am told that everybody wanted to give money for AI to AIG. You already have AI in AIG.
Yeah.
So you are a leader. Are there any people who would like to ask questions to Dr. Nageshwar Reddy, residents or fellows or young faculty?
You asked everyone about tell the mantra of success in one line. So we have seen your journey. So what was your one-liner, sir, for us?
My one line is grab the opportunities.
Okay,
You get a lot of opportunities, you don't see them, grab it whenever you get them.
Sir, recently you quoted that AI should be used as an assistant, not for making clinical decisions. So
Yes,
sir also says it is augmented
Yes.
intelligence, not the.
You're
So
right.
it
I think AI, see the fear people have is that AI is going to overtake everything, that this world is going to be run by AI. But this is not right. AI, I tell our doctors, initially when we started this huge AI project, we actually got 40 Google scientists to come and join us. And one of the disadvantages was that their salaries are so high, more than doctors. It was very expensive. The amount of expenditure from electricity and all when you do AI is extremely expensive. So we thought, but we realized over a period of time that AI as an aid to help us overcomes all these things. In fact, what we have found is that doctors used to ask me, is AI going to replace us? I said, no. One very important thing is, in future, doctors who know AI are going to replace the doctors who do not know AI. That is very important. So every youngster has to get into this AI, take a small course, ISB doing its courses, or I think NAMS. I've seen very nice course that NAMS is doing. So these courses you must take and learn a little about AI, because that is going to be the future. We're going to apply it into every aspect of medicine.
In the interest of time, and I think Dr. Reddy has many more commitments today in Delhi. So I would like Harsh.
So thank you, sir. As we come to a close to this inspiring, motivating and incredible session with two of our biggest stalwarts in gastroenterology, hepatology, Dr. Nageshwar Reddy sir and Dr. Sarin, I would like to say that teachers are the lamps of knowledge. They dispel the darkness with lights of knowledge, and their grace is always in our heart. Dr. Reddy sir has been a pioneer in gastroenterology and endoscopy as an impeccable clinician, innovator, as well as an entrepreneur. He juggles with all these roles with utmost humility and an infectious smile, which truly makes him an icon both nationally as well as globally. I would like to thank you, sir and ma'am, for coming to ILBS and sharing your amazing journey with all of us. I would like to thank Dr. Sarin sir, who's our guide, mentor, and thank him for this opportunity. I would like to thank Colonel Ram, Colonel Rastogi, Gaurav, Colonel Rajneesh, Dr. Vikram Bhatia, and last but not least, Dr. Pratibha for making this event happen. Thank you so much, and kindly join us for high tea. Thank you.